What's going on YouTube? OCD for EDC here. And what I got for your face balls today is this guy right here. This happens to be the SOG Terminus XR. This is, I'm pretty sure it's carbon fiber over G10. And it happens to be the S35 VN blade version. So this is a knife that, a lot of people have been talking about. And it's an interesting one for sure. I haven't had it very long, so this is really just kind of a first impression. But we are going to disassemble this because there's some badness going on in here. But real quick, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here size-wise, pretty similar to, the Bug Out, the Mini RSK, the Deca, and the Para 3. This is the lightweight version, but you get the idea. Pretty similar. All these knives are pretty dang close in size and dimensions and whatnot. So, now obviously these access locks and able lock knives are more akin to this thing right here. This is the XR lock from SOG. One thing that I do actually like about this knife quite a bit is the pocket clip. You can see that it's a little more than deep carry, but it's comfortable in hand and it works really well going in and out of the pocket. So that's certainly a positive that I noticed right off the bat. I don't necessarily care for the branding on the pocket clip, but it's black and it's pretty small. Nobody's getting down and getting that close to your pockets, or at least not in my day-to-day life. So this is T8. So actually, before I start tearing this thing apart, I'm going to show a couple of things. So right off the bat here, this thing works from what I can tell. I've never disassembled one of these before, but what I can tell, this thing works just like an access lock, Benchmade access lock knife. Now, the one thing that I've always seen that all these knives have in common is that the bar that runs across the blade and the pieces that you're actually touching with your fingers are all the same machined piece of, in the Bug Out's case, this is titanium. I'm pretty sure it's steel on the Hogues, but I could be wrong about that. But it keeps that bar completely straight. You can see that, as long as it's pushed up, you can't really shift it side to side very much at all on either one of these knives. However, look at this. You can see right off the bat. So when I pull this back, I can move this side to side quite a bit. And obviously the blade tang is not ground straight, because when this particular knife locks up, the lock bar is crooked on there. And I'll show you when I get it disassembled. I think it's going to be hard to see on camera when it's assembled, but there's an obvious wear pattern on one side of the knife or one side of the blade versus the other. So it's obviously not square. So it appears to me that the way that this is built is you have this bar that runs across there, and then these two plastic pieces are independent of one another. And the spring is pushing on the plastic piece, and this, stainless steel bar that goes across there is probably just tucked into a hole on either one of these plastic actuators. It just makes all of this assembly up here is gritty. It appears that this thing is riding on bearings, and that's really why I'm disassembling this so early on before I really carry it, because it's so gritty that I just want to clean it out and see if I can't improve the action. I want to give this thing a fair shot. And right at the moment, it is just really gritty and shitty, we'll say. So I don't know if that's, everyone's experience with this knife. I have had my hands on one of these a couple of times, not for any length of time. So the pivot screw is a T8. There was, looks like red Loctite in there, although it came apart quite easily. It is not tooled on this side. So The body screws in the back are T6, and they they do have some blue Loctite on them. So, little factory installed Loctite there. The red Loctite that was on the pivot screw, there's a ton of it on there. But like I said, it must not have been very good Loctite, or they had some oil or something in there, because it didn't even act like it had Loctite on it when I pulled the pivot screw out. And this knife is brand new. I've only had it a couple of days. So there you go. There you go. I just threw the clip across the room. So you can move the clip right to left side carry. Let me grab it real quick. All right, so there's the way your clip goes in. And it goes in like this. And so if you want to flip it to the other side, you gotta, yeah. So anyway, it's going to be, I don't know, we'll see. There might be a milled out area that's just perfect for that size, but if this can move around in there a lot, it'll be fun to spear that thing with the screw. Okay. Well, I am having to take out all the body screws because of the pivot there. And, I could just push the pivot out like I do on a lot of Access, Benchmade knives and whatnot. Or Hogue knives, but this thing I'm really wanting to completely disassemble it so we can get down to what is causing all the grittiness. So right here, there's a little bit of oil you can see on the scale or the liner, but it's relatively clean. So you can see it's got a Omega spring style spring there. Yeah, that's what I thought. So these plastic actuators just have a hole in them. And then, good Lord, they're tiny. There's that milled out area right there, if you can see that. I don't know how well the lighting is going to allow for that, but that's just the area where the spring is coming out. And so there's your Omega spring, and then you've just got there's just a milled line on the actual bar that runs across. So these plastic deals just are, they just cup over that bar. That's basically what I expected to see. I didn't bring anything over here to pry this stuff out, so there we go. Now I should be able there. So that's the SOG Omega spring right there. Spring tension on this seems to be actually a little harder than your Hogue and Benchmade bar locks. But yeah, the spring seems quite robust, really. So I have no idea how well they're going to hold up or work, but okay. So we just got a blade stop pin. Got a washer there that the bearing is riding on. We do have caged bearings. So let me get this washer out of here. There we go. And I'm just going to start cleaning these parts as we go. I haven't really found a tremendous amount of dirt yet, but it just, I don't know, it seems really, really gritty, and maybe that's just how they are. But that'll be unfortunate if that's the case. Okay, so the liners are coated black. We got this washer here. Set that off to the side. And just as a note there, you do have a little bit of thicker grease to keep the axis or the Omega spring from rattling around. Here is your back spacer, and you do have a milled out area so that's actually going to fit in there pretty well. It's interesting. They've got a little alignment pin at the end there. So Okay. All right. So now I'm going to lift the blade off of here. Well, at least I think I am. This is kind of strange because the access bar is putting tension on that. There we go. Oh, well, these bearings are definitely dirty. I don't know what they used for grease here, but I can see chunks of stuff on there. Oh, and look all, I don't know, yeah, you guys can't see that, but there's a bunch of blue Loctite here that has fallen out of this thing. And you can see it on the towel here. These bearings were really dirty. So, all right, that makes me feel a little better. I just couldn't really see it because everything's black inside here. But let's get this bearing cleaned up. All right. Now I'm going to push this pivot out. And I don't know if you'll be able to see inside that pivot tube or not, but it is just caked with red Loctite. So that's awesome. Yeah, this bearing, the other bearing was dirty as well. All right. So, here's the other scale. There's the other little plastic piece. Pretty straightforward otherwise. Yeah, I really believe that access lock, or what, the XR lock, if you will, because it is 3 separate components and this bar is allowed to shift back and forth. So if you look at the wear pattern on that bar, you can see that it's really just on one side there. And it's because the blade, let me show you. You can see the wear pattern where the lock bar comes up on here to keep it in the open position. You can see it's only rubbing on one side of the blade here. There's just ever so slightly a mark on the opposite side. But I think if I were to actually go and put this on my my truing table, I would find that this surface is not perfectly 90 degrees to this surface here. And so because this is ground at slightly of an angle, it wants to kick that bar sideways as it rides up onto that lock surface. And what that's doing is just creating lock stick and just making for an unpleasant action, really, is what is going on here. And, it's too bad because this knife, I haven't tested the blade yet, so I don't know how well it's going to do in cut testing and stuff. That's something I'm definitely going to do. However, this thing's $85. So when you compare it to, the Bug Out or the Deca, it's an American made, basically 7-inch knife, 3-inch blade, 4-inch handle, kind of an affair, with an access lock riding on bearings, not access lock, but that style. You guys get what I'm saying? And it's significantly less money. So, it looks attractive, but they just kind of missed the boat here. It's just unfortunate because this could have been a much better situation. I'm just cleaning up one of the scales here and getting a bunch of this oil off. Okay. So I'm going to start just reassembling. I'm not going to take this spring and stuff off. I just don't see any reason to. There's really nothing in there. At this point, like I said, I'm going to use this for a while, and we'll do some cut testing and all that sort of good stuff. And, of course, I'll follow up with you guys and tell you how all this goes. But that red Loctite just came flying out of there. Obviously, I don't know what kind of Loctite they're using, but it obviously isn't very good because, generally speaking, if that would have been red Loctite, that should have been a real pain in the ass. and it wasn't at all. So, put my backspacer on here. Okay. But yeah, we'll do some testing with this knife, and we'll find out if it's going to be a good one or not. It'll suck if it's not. Like I said, with the cost of this thing, and the fact that it's U.S. made is awesome. But if it's no good, it's no good. Doesn't matter what it costs. And yeah, so I'm hoping. I've got high hopes for this knife. I hope that it can be a decent blade, but we'll see. It's really just the design of this access lock that is kind of screwing up the show here. And I don't know if you can actually fix it, to be honest with you, with the way they've designed this. There's a reason why these other companies are utilizing one bar across there instead of two separate pieces. And in the case of like even on Spyderco's ball lock, you have got the ball cage is all one piece, and then the ball is a separate component. But like on the Mannix 2, that you have a ball that's engaging with the lock surface instead of that bar, so it just keeps everything it's just a better configuration all the way around. But maybe now that I've got this cleaned up, this is going to be a lot better. And it certainly got a bit better after a little bit of use. So this was already getting better, with a little bit of manipulation and whatnot. So maybe this is going to get better over time, and that will be great if that's what happens. But right at the moment, it's certainly not the wonderful, smooth, nice experience that you are, generally attribute to an access style locking knife. I should have brought some other tools over here with me. I should have known that this was going to these style knives are not a huge deal. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh God, Benchmades are so terrible to disassemble and whatnot," and it's not that big of a deal, honestly. But I get it. Like if you don't do it very often, and if you're not really mechanically inclined, I guess. I'm not trying to be an ass or anything about that. It's just the truth. Then, it is a little bit more fidgety than just your, 2-screw construction titanium frame locks where you just pop a couple screws out and everything's good. This is definitely not that. But it's still totally doable. And I have the wrong size driver. So we'll see if this is any smoother now, and I'll try and show you this lock bar more. I mean, certainly nothing that I did here was going to fix that issue. So the lock bar is still going to be able to kick sideways and whatnot. There's really nothing I can do about that, other than, like I said, if I go and put the blade on my truing table and actually check it for all the surfaces to check and see if they're flat and square. But obviously that's not something that normal people have at their home or have the ability to fix, even if they did. So that's just an ugly situation. But we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll figure it out. Like I said, I'm going to use it for a while. It's very obvious at this point that the lock surface is not square and true, or it wouldn't be wearing on one side of the lock just after a few days. But like I said, maybe it'll wear in. We'll see. Time will tell. So I'm going to keep this on a right side carry for the moment. And then we will... Yeah, so that's not terrible. So you just have a long screw here for the pocket clip, and that's pretty easy to spear that hole. So I do like the clip design here. It's functional and it's simple, and so that part's great. Okay, so well, we definitely got the grit out of the bearings, because now the blade drops. It dropped well before. It wasn't that it didn't drop. It was gritty and you could feel it, which I didn't like that. But the lock, so let me show you here. So I just flipped it open, and look at how crooked that lock bar is. And if I hold the blade here and pull this back, you can see how that moves around. And I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. I'm going to do it by the camera once, or by the microphone, I should say. Here we go. Listen to this. That's just me actuating the XR lock, if you will. But you can see that every single time you open this knife, it's crooked as all hell. And, that's purely based on the fact that it's not square and true in there. So, one side's pushing up further than the other side. So, I don't know what to say about this. I don't know if that's, this is just one knife. Don't crucify SOG and everybody freak out and say, oh God, they're terrible. And this is just one knife. This is just the one that I received. This is nothing special. This didn't come straight from SOG or anything like that. Blade centering is pretty much right on. Maybe slightly favoring the right side here as I hold it. I do have a bit of blade play there, so I could tighten that up a bit. Let's see if that helped the centering at all. Okay, so blade's still really free dropping. It's damn close. I mean, it might be ever so slightly off to this right side, but it's close. For an $85 knife, it's close. So, and like I said, if this S35VN performs well, I'm not the biggest fan of S35VN. It's okay. But if it performs well, then I think this is a solid choice, really. It's just that the lock it's just not smooth. It's nothing like this experience here, or this. So these feel totally different in hand than this thing does. So, like I said, I'm going to use it for a while. We'll get to the bottom of it, and I'll give you some feedback on it and let you know if it's any good or not. I honestly, I hope that it is. I think having a, premium super steel, with, carbon fiber. I mean, yes, it's carbon fiber laminated on G10, but it's got a decent pocket clip. It is reversible. This is a fully ambidextrous design, and you got thumb stud and flipper tab option here for $85, US made. I mean, there's a lot of positives here, but yeah, we'll see. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed this, and sorry if I rambled quite a bit there. I'm just disassembling this, and really this was more just about trying to clean this up and get it ready for testing and use. So, oh, one more thing real quick. I'll check the factory sharpening. I should have had this down. I wasn't even thinking about it. But this thing has not cut anything at this point. So we'll check the factory edge on this thing and see what we got. Here we go. 205. So not terrible. Yeah, definitely sharp out of the box. So nothing wrong with that. And like I said, I'll let you guys know how the testing goes and stuff, and you'll see a review on this thing pretty soon. So, all right, guys, thanks a lot. Have a good one.